Before Tokyo, before Kyoto, before Japan became the nation we recognize today, there was Nara. More than 1,300 years ago, in the year 710 AD, Japan made a historic decision. For the first time in its history, the country established a permanent capital city. That city was Nara, known then as Heijo-kyo. This moment marked the beginning of something far greater than a new city. It marked the birth of Japan as a unified, organized civilization, a new beginning for Japan. Before Nara, Japan's capitals were temporary. Each time an emperor died, the capital moved. Politics were unstable, administration was weak, and power was fragmented. But in 710 AD, inspired by the powerful Tang dynasty of China, Japan decided to change everything. Nara was built as a planned city, with wide streets, orderly neighborhoods, and a clear center of power. This was revolutionary for Japan. For the first time, Japan had a fixed capital, a centralized government, written laws, organized taxation, a clear national identity. Nara was not just a city, it was an experiment in civilization. A city modeled after China. Nara's design was directly inspired by Chang'an, the capital of Tang China, one of the greatest cities on earth at that time. The city was laid out in a perfect grid. The imperial palace stood in the north. Government offices lined the main avenue. Residential areas spread out symmetrically. This layout symbolized order, control, and balance, values Japan desperately wanted to adopt. China was the superpower of Asia, and Japan wanted to learn from it. Writing systems, philosophy, law codes, architecture, religion, and the most influential import of all was Buddhism. Buddhism becomes the heart of the nation. In the 8th century, Buddhism was not just a religion, it was political power. The Japanese rulers believed Buddhism could protect the nation from disasters, disease, and rebellion. Temples were built not just for worship, but for state security. Nara became the religious capital of Japan. Massive temples rose across the city, funded by the imperial court. Monks gained influence. Rituals were performed to ensure peace, stability, and divine protection. Religion and government became deeply connected. The Great Buddha of Todaiji. At the center of this spiritual world stood one of the most extraordinary projects in ancient history, the Great Buddha of Todaiji. This enormous bronze statue, known as the Daibutz, was completed in the mid-8th century. It represented Vairocana Buddha, the cosmic Buddha, a symbol of universal harmony. The project nearly bankrupted the state. Resources were pulled from across Japan, copper from distant provinces, laborers from villages, craftsmen from abroad. It was said that almost the entire population of Japan contributed in some way. Why would a government risk everything for a statue? Because the Buddha was believed to unite the country, protect it from natural disasters, legitimize the emperor's rule. The Great Buddha was not just art, it was national ideology cast in bronze.
Monks, power, and political fear. As temples grew richer, monks grew more powerful. By the mid-8th century, some Buddhist leaders held influence equal to nobles. One monk even came close to becoming emperor. This frightened the court. The very religion meant to stabilize Japan was now threatening to control it. Behind the peaceful image of temples and prayer, Nara was filled with political tension. Power struggles between emperors, aristocrats, Buddhist institutions. The balance was breaking. Life in Nara, ordinary people. While politics played out at the top, everyday life in Nara was changing forever. For ordinary people, this was a time of new laws, taxes paid in rice or labor, government records of births and land. art and culture flourished. Poetry collections like the Manyo Shu were written. Music and dance mixed Japanese and Chinese styles. Wooden architecture reached new heights. Education expanded for the elite, and writing became a tool of power. Nara was noisy, crowded and alive, filled with monks chanting, officials debating, and traders moving goods through the streets. It was ancient Japan's first true urban society. The sacred deer of Nara. One of the most mysterious traditions of Nara began in this era. Deer were considered sacred animals, believed to be messengers of the gods. Killing one was a serious crime, sometimes punishable by death. This belief blended Shinto, Japan's native spirituality, with Buddhism. Even today, deer roam freely in Nara, a living reminder of ancient faith. Why Nara lost its status. Despite its achievements, Nara's time as capital was short. By 794 AD, the emperor made a dramatic decision. The capital would move to Heian-kyo, modern-day Kyoto. Why? Because Nara had become too powerful and too dangerous. The Buddhist institutions had grown beyond control. The court needed distance, physically and politically. So Japan walked away from its first great capital. Nara's eternal legacy. Although it lost political power, it never lost its soul. It left behind Japan's earliest laws, its first written history, its religious foundation, its artistic identity. Nara taught Japan how to govern, how to believe, and how to remember. Even today, walking through Nara feels like stepping into the origin story of Japan itself. Nara was not just Japan's first capital. It was the moment Japan learned how to become a civilization.